Welcome to this week's episode of Does That Make Sense? Joining us today is Australian professional boxer Susie Q Ramadan. Susie is the only Australian female boxer to win 5 world titles in 3 different weight divisions.
What an achievement, Amanda. Susie also shares her personal story about her life before boxing and her journey to becoming a world champion. It's an inspiring interview, so let's get started.
So welcome to the show, Susie Q Ramadan. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Susie.
Thank you for having me.
So, Susie, most people know you as a world champion boxer. You've actually won 3 world champion titles five world champion titles over 3 different weight divisions. And that's quite an achievement. I mean, no one else has really achieved that in Australia in female boxing, have they?
No, the first one to win 2 of the most prestigious titles, the WBC and IBF, and having to win 5 world titles in 3 different weight divisions. It's breaking the record there for sure. And
the only other person to sort of achieve that was Jeff Fenech, is that correct, in Australia?
Yeah, in 3 different weight divisions. It's great that a female like myself has done it.
Wow. Although people might know you as a boxer, we want to sort of go back and find out more about your personal story and like the whole journey of you growing up. So can you share sort of from the beginning, Susie, from the beginning growing up and some of your experiences?
Yeah, well, life was so much different compared to what it is now. And growing up, I was a very shy girl, actually. I can be shy still at times, but I was very shy. I loved to dance. I've had a hard life. Many challenges growing up. With both my parents working a lot, and it was me and my sister that sort of had to become independent at a very young age. And we've just learned everything the hard way, Even there were times where when not being around, they would still make us work hard, scrub the walls and scrub the carpets and stuff like that. So, it was very hard growing up. I grew up in the western suburbs. It was really rough in that area. There was a lot of drugs back then. I went to a school. It was a very rough school as well. And being the shy girl who sort of, didn't have the Nike shoes and all that sort of stuff. And, obviously being Australian Muslim as well, it was tough. So I would get picked on a lot and got bullied in primary school. And I just, when it got to getting into high school, I just didn't want to go to school. And I was lucky I had my sister who, she was only a year older than me. And getting into high school, it become, a lot worse in terms of the bullying. And it got to a stage where I didn't have any confidence with myself. No self-belief, no self-esteem, none of that. And it was just like, why is this happening to me? And it just got too much that I didn't want to go to school. I skipped school a lot. And then things have turned and I've just gone, I've had enough. And I ended up turning the other way. So it was like I would walk into a classroom. There was always this same girl who would push and shove me. And I just turned around and smacked her and things just got a little bit out of hand after that. And so then I hung around with the wrong people, the cool people, as I thought back then, and just got up to no good. And, just things got from bad to worse. There was a lot of situations where there was near-death situations and I've just gone, and it hit me one day. It's like, what am I doing? How am I going to, help myself get out of this situation? And, my sister that's where she got me into soccer, and that sort of gave me a little bit of confidence and things started to change from there.
Susie, I can almost relate to you. My parents are European and I grew up in the western suburbs as well, and I recall that we would always get picked on for our nationality or our heritage, and we would always be called wogs and everything else under the sun. We were terrorised. They would destroy my father's beautiful front garden that he took so much pride in doing. And I mean, times have changed significantly to what it was back then. Mine was more so in the 80s. When were you growing up? What era? What time?
I was born in 79. So, and there was still that stuff. And I even remember like the romper stomper stuff, because I remember a big brawl at school, with the romper stomper people against the Asians. There was so much. And everyone was sort of separate gangs. Like you had the Asians in a group and the Europeans in a group. And it was just, it was hard.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you got into soccer, but I also have learnt that your first love was soccer and dance. And you even dreamed of getting into forensic science. Is that correct?
Well, dancing's always been my love since young. So that would always be something that I would love to do and would make me happy. Soccer was something, I wasn't actually interested in playing soccer, but my sister sort of got me into it to sort of meet some friends and get some confidence and stuff like that. And the forensics, I didn't know that I actually had that ability to be able to sort of put puzzles together and had that smarts in the investigative side of things. So I got into that sort of field of work.
So when did your love for boxing come into play? And how old were you at the time?
One day I was driving past a gym, and I seen some people out the front hitting the bag, hitting the pads and stuff like that. And I turned around and I said, well, and the doctors also told me that I've got to do something to be healthy. And I thought, well, boxing would be the thing. I never thought I would ever fight. I just thought, okay, that might teach me some discipline. That might help me with confidence and all sorts of things. But initially I went in there and I said, I did say I want to fight, even though in the back of my head I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get hit in the face. But, and, you've got these old school trainers who looked at me and said, no, look, you're a girl, you're small, you could get hurt, you're welcome to train here anytime you want. And so I was determined to change their mind, and I was the first one in, last one out.
How did the community respond to a female getting into boxing?
It's been tough. Like all my life, it's been tough. Like I said, I got bullied, when I was young. Then when they find out, wow, a Muslim girl is boxing, she shouldn't be boxing. She should be married and home and doing the home duties and all that sort of stuff. But there was people from outside the Muslim community who sort of seen that the same way as well, because, women weren't supposed to box. And it's also been tough, even now till today, to get the opportunities that, some others might get who haven't worked as hard as me. And due to those sort of reasons as well, it makes it harder. One, being a female, we're always like second best or last best or whatever.
Yeah.
And then a Muslim female on top of that too. So, it's very difficult, but I think that's what I love about it, because it just drives me to, push even harder.
Now, you said that you were involved in domestic violence. How did that affect you, and how did it change you?
It's taught me a lot. I mean, I grew up around violence and I never understood what it was, and I just thought it was normal. And it gets to a situation where it just sort of becomes normal. And this relationship was for like many years, and it's just that people will think like, why are they still staying with that person, after, going through this physical, emotional and mental abuse. But when you're in that situation, it's just different. It's so hard to get out of it, especially if the partner's very controlling and stuff like that. So I've learned a lot about me and the fact of making the right choices and being able to really focus and work out what my values were and what I valued most. And I thought that, look, my health was in risk. Like it wasn't healthy in my life. It was just not good. So I had to value me and put myself first and get out of that situation, which was very difficult at the time. And I've learned so much, and I feel that, many women go through that. And there's so much that I've been through and in life, and there's probably things I haven't spoken about and sort of it's hard for me to speak about, and there's things that I open up to speaking about. But, so much things happen to women in terms of, sexual abuse. I mean, that happens a lot. The domestic abuse, the physical abuse, and it's almost like it's not so much the physical pain. And I've learned that even through boxing, you get that physical pain, but it heals. It's just that the mental and physical pain, which is the hardest to overcome. And it takes time. And I feel that every woman deserve happiness and self-love. And that's what you've got to put first. And, you can't control how people are and what they do, but you can control, how you react, how you respond, and what you do about it. And, nowadays it's great because there's always help. And I was one of those people who I just didn't want to tell anyone and sort of deal with things on my own, which made it worse. And I think it's always better to call for help. If you have friends or family or even the helpline or whatever, it's the best option to get out of that sort of situation quicker. And you learn also things about, I learned so much about it too, and I've done a lot of reading to help me recover from it all. And I think you got to learn about the approach of people or your potential partners from the get-go. And you've got to see those signs and red flags before you continue. I think that's very important.
Very true.
And very inspiring, Susie. It is difficult, and the emotional pain, as you said, far outweighs any physical pain that could possibly occur through any forms of domestic abuse. Your journey and where you've come from that is pretty inspiring. And I think that a lot of other women that are going through similar situations would be turning to people like you for that sort of level of support, because it's really hard to break that chain of command of what do I do, where do I go, who do I speak to, who's going to believe me? You're inspiring.
There's also times where you think it's your fault.
Yes.
That's a hard thing as well. So it's never your fault. I think that's what you've got to remember.
How did you actually, who were the role models that took you to that from that next step? So you started amateur boxing, but did you have some role models that sort of, were around you, that rallied around you and help you with that journey of sort of moving to a more positive direction and now obviously in turning pro as well?
I think my sister played a big part. She's like my right-hand girl who's always supported me and has pushed me to, do good things with myself. And I think my mother as well, she's a very strong woman, and she's showed me, the strength of a woman and how much they can do. And, it's just a matter of putting your mind to it and having that strength. And, yeah, definitely two women who mean so much to me has really played a big impact on my life and career.
And were there any sort of boxers that you aspired to when you were sort of on this journey? Or I assume there weren't many female boxers that you could look up to at the time?
I used to love Muhammad Ali. I think not only the skills that he has in the ring he's beautiful to watch, and just the impact he made outside the ring, and just the person he was, and how much of a difference he made. Anything that inspires me like that, I used to look up to him a lot.
And how often do you train, and what's involved in your training?
We train 6 days a week. When there's competitions coming up, it's twice a day. There's a lot of work that gets put in. Obviously, your diet is very important. You've got to make weight for your fights. There's a lot of, you need your endurance, your running, your hill work, your stair work, your sparring, your pad work, the skipping, the strength work. So you need everything in boxing. So you've got to work on the strength, the power, the endurance, the fitness, the speed. So much work is involved, which is great fun. I mean, boxing, it can be, very physically demanding, but the feeling of feeling healthy and fit is just, it's amazing. But there's a lot of work involved.
And what about with mental training? Is there anything that you do in preparation to a fight?
Yeah, the mindset is absolutely very important for boxing. I think that's probably one of the main things that you do need in boxing, because you can be as fit as you want and as good as you want, but it's at the end of the day, it's when you come into play that and how you focus and use your mindset. I think for me, it's more I like to do some yoga and relax, because obviously the boxing's high intense. So you've got to give yourself downtime, focus on positive things. I love to watch like motivational videos. And I do a lot of reading, so I learn. I like to learn things about human behaviour and how to focus and how to see things in a positive light and all sorts of stuff like that. I think that helps.
And let's talk some rituals. Do you have any rituals that you do before a big match day? Like, do you have a certain meal that you eat the night before, or a certain breakfast, or do you have match day undies?
Believe it or not, I used to be that. I can be a bit superstitious at times. So brand new underwear or socks and stuff like that before a fight. And in the amateurs, it was always like, no, I've got to be in the red corner, because the red corner was good for me. I was winning. And then because I lost once in a fight in the blue corner, it was like, oh, it's because I was in the blue corner. But that sort of went out the window. And for me, it's more I put everything, even in training and sparring, I'll put the right glove on first before the left. So everything is the right shoe first before the left. I just feel that the right side is the angel side and the left's the devil side.
That's so funny.
It's surprising how many athletes do, or, professional, athletes have got those little rituals, and you do see them. I mean, I noticed because I watch a bit of tennis, and Nadal's always doing this like little, I don't know, something with his waters, and there's a way it's got a face, and like it seems quite OCD or something, but I'm like, there must be some little ritual going on there that he has to do. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And what age were you when you won and like, what was it like winning for the first time?
When I did win the world title, the feeling was amazing. It was like, wow, I can actually achieve something. The fact that, well, this is what hard work, or where it gets you. And when you set your mind to something. So the feeling of it is just, it's not so much the actual, the fame or any of that. It's just that feeling deep within the self-development, I think, knowing that you're able to achieve something great.
That's amazing. And your mum doesn't go to your matches, does she? So who's in your corner when you've got the matches going on?
Well, Dad's always there, and my sister's always in my corner, and obviously my trainer and my team, they're in my corner. But Mum's, no, she can't watch anything that's violent, and
yes.
She'll be waiting by the phone for us to call her, and when we do, and we're like, oh, Mum, yeah, I won, and she'll be like, oh, are you okay? I'm like, yep, fine. What about the other girl? We're like, don't worry about the other girl, and she's like, well, she's got. It's hard for them. I think it's worse for them. It's harder to see on the outside than what it is as us fighters.
Right, yeah.
Do you ever get into a boxing ring full of butterflies and nerves and scared?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you think about it, like, again, going against someone bigger and stronger or more experienced. But I think when you know that you've done everything right in the gym, and you've done all your training right and everything's right and you're prepared and ready to go, you don't fear that. I think more the fear comes sort of, you don't want to let people down and you don't want to fail. So I think that's what it is. But you train your mind during the whole time of training. That's what important. That's why everything's important, that what gets done in training, to make sure everything's right. So when you do get there, you don't have that fear. You're confident, you're ready to go.
And what about the boxing camps that you go to? Like, we see that on the Rocky movies, they always go to that boxing camp before they, they're training. Do you do that? And what's that like?
I don't drink the raw egg, that's for sure. I don't do that.
You don't do raw egg. There's something with the tyres.
Yeah, we do tyre work. We do all sorts of stuff. I mean, the training at the Rocky movies are pretty much very similar to what we do. There's a lot of hard work involved. So, it's just, you sort of got to hibernate. You can't be around, negative people. You've got to focus on training. Sometimes you're away from your family to focus on your training and stuff like that. So it's just to make sure that mentally you're prepared and you make sure you get everything right in training. So.
And with your opponents, are you friends with them outside of the boxing ring?
It just depends on each fighter. I guess everyone's different, and I'm actually friends with quite a few of them, to be honest. Even the Mexicans I fought from overseas, and my last opponent I fought, we message each other on Facebook and stuff like that. So it's great. I mean, I think it's just, we get in there, we both understand the sport and what we're doing and what we do, and then to be able to be friends at the end of it, I think is absolutely, it's great.
After so many years of winning world titles, what has boxing brought to your life?
It's made a massive difference to me as a person. It's taught me so much in terms of discipline and living a healthy, clean life. Boxing is so much like life. You just never know what punch gets thrown at your way. You're ready to challenge that and you're ready to overcome it, especially with what's going on now with this pandemic, the unknown. And it's almost like when you go into a ring, the unknown of what's going to happen. So you're able to adjust. And it's taught me so much, and it's made me become a better person, that's for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I see you on social media and you are just putting everyone to shame with these workouts that you're doing with just such ferocity. It's like, oh my gosh, all this exercise you're doing. Have you got any advice for anyone that probably needs to start exercising and needs to get off the couch and get motivated? What's some tips you've got for them to sort of just get up and make a change tomorrow?
I think exercising is the best thing that you can do in life because it makes you feel so good, and there's so many health benefits. I mean, sitting on the couch and doing nothing is not going to do anything good for you. So you've got to twist your mind to think the positive. Yeah, there's so much stuff going on now with the pandemic and it's very stressful, but not doing anything about it is not going to make things better. There's always a positive to a negative. So I think that in order to feel good, do start with, little goals, set some little goals and go for little walks and try some things that you never, you've always wanted to try and never got a chance to do. And I think for me, the harder things are, the more adversity and stuff like that, I think the harder I push.
What's next for you, Susie? So after the pandemic and COVID has lifted and restrictions have eased, are you working on any upcoming fights or anything like that?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's been hard to get a fight because of obviously all this. Melbourne's had the worst lockdown in the world, and so I'm really looking forward to getting back into the gym. And we are working towards another world title fight. So hopefully I should get some news pretty soon about that. And definitely can't wait to get back in there and show everyone that, women, we just get stronger as we age, and, putting your mind to things you can achieve so much.
Susie, you're an inspiration to many, and there will be so many other women out there that are listening to your story and your journey that could relate, and you're empowering. So you've inspired me, that's for sure.
Obviously, we'll put links so people can follow you on social media and have a look at what you're doing. And you're always doing some fantastic routines on there as well. So we'll definitely share your links in your social media pages so people can sort of have a look and watch what you're doing and be inspired.
And we look forward to seeing more of you out in the ring. Well, maybe I will probably duck for cover, but probably close my eyes. I'll come and watch you, but close my eyes the entire time.
Much like your mother.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Susie.
Very much. Thank you very much.